That's one down and one more to go this week.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you are downloading our podcast, this show is always free, and the show always appreciates your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs have wound down and the sports stop sporting like we want them to, this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all of their customers with a boost or a bonus, and they're doing it daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com and you can get started today. You got to start asking yourself this question. If you're not an everydayer, why not? How come? I told you back in June when Cardi Smith decommitted from Auburn, and after he had set up an official visit to USC, keep an eye on this move. This is going to be big. It's going to be significant. Well, when he finished up that official visit to USC, that was back on June 21st, through the 23rd, he knew then he never wanted to leave LA again. In fact, Cardi Smith said he fell in love with USC when he took his official visit back over the summer. He said he told his mom, I don't want to come back home. Well, if you've been watching every episode of Locked On USC every day, you already know Monday, August 5th, Cardi pulled the trigger and said, fight on. He's now a Trojan. He's committed to be a Trojan, I should say. 6'6", 300 pounds. He's from Mobile, Alabama. He verbally pledged to come to USC to be a member of the class of 2025. Now, here's what's so significant about this move. We know USC's been focused on Georgia, the state of, trying to find the guys for the defensive line. Well, this time, USC, Josh Henson, Lincoln Riley, they went into the state of Alabama. Yeah. So when Cardi went on the On3 Network's platform on Monday with Josh Newberg, this is what he said about why he chose USC. I feel like Coach Riley is the best head coach in the game. Just being in Cali, it's amazing. It just felt like home to me. The fans, they can expect to get a dog. I'm coming. So again, you've got USC going into Georgia. Now they're dipping their toes into the state of Alabama. They're going into SEC country to build this roster. Hey, if it works for those guys, it'll work in LA too, right? Cardi, I hope I've made it clear. He likes Los Angeles. He had a good time on his visit. He didn't want to leave. And he has plans to come back this fall to watch a game also. The USC visit showed me some different things and made USC a real hard push for me to be here. So I'm looking forward to getting back to USC for a game in the fall. That's what he said during his commitment ceremony. I think it was like 5-7 minutes, real quick, but very informative. So not only is Cardi on board, but more importantly, so is his mom, right? Because when you have mom on board, it's kind of like game over. So now with Cardi in the fold, USC's class of 2025, they have 16 commitments. Let me review those for you real quickly. You got Juju Lewis, you have Cardi Smith, you have offensive lineman Willie Washer, offensive lineman Elijah Vicona, wide receiver Corey Sims, wide receiver Tanuk Hines, wide receiver Romero Eisen, running back Harry Dalton, running back Riley Wormley, and then you got athlete. You can play actually both sides of the ball. DeJuan Morris. You've got defensive end, edge player Hayden Lowe, defensive lineman Gus Cordova, linebacker Matai Tagoai. You have the linebacker who they just signed, or they had a commitment out of him last week, Jadon Perlot. You have cornerback Tristan Castro, as well as cornerback Shamar Arnu. Now, you have 16 commitments, and as far as your national class ranking, USC is still number 18. But let me show you the difference between the 15th ranked class nationally, and USC's 18th ranked class. Number 15 is Texas. They have a total of 16 commits, same as USC. They have 0 5-stars. They have 10 4-stars, 6 3-stars. The number 16 team, Missouri, 1 5-star, 9 4, 7 3. Total of 18. Number 17, right in front of USC, Penn State, 0 5-stars, 11 4, 12 3-stars. Total of 23 commitments. Then you've got USC, Julian Lewis is your 5-star, 9 4-stars, 6 3-stars, total of 16 commitments. The average ranking for number 15 for Texas's class has a star ranking average of 90.328. Right? Penn State is 89.791, USC 89.683. This is why I really cannot stand the star ranking systems. It's so subjective. USC has the same amount of 5-stars as Missouri, yet Missouri is ranked ahead of them. USC Missouri has the same amount of 4-stars, yet Missouri is ranked ahead of them by 2 spots. And Missouri has 1 more 3-star. So they have 18 commits against USC 16. Where's number 14? How about Oklahoma? That's where they're ranked. I know I got a lot of everyday Oklahoma listeners. Your average star ranking is 90.54. That's what separates number 14 from number 18. Not a lot. And again, the numbers are so awkward. You know, for instance, Oklahoma, they have 0 5-stars, but they have 13 4-stars and 9 3-stars. So 22 players in that class. Is that what gives them the edge? As far as where USC is sitting recruiting right now, I'm good with where USC sits. I'm fine with it. Before the season starts, you're in good shape. Especially, like I said, you can go into SEC territory and you're taking out trench monsters. You got an offensive lineman. We know, I know Justice Terry didn't stick. I know Isaiah Gibson didn't stick. Still, you're going in there. You're getting linebackers. You're getting edge players. Cameron Fountain from last year's class. Lorenzo Cowan, another one. USC's doing their work. They're getting the players that fit their needs. Oh, and just kind of as a reminder, like I said, I opened the segment up. That's 1 down, 1 more to go. Don't forget, USC's in a really good spot for another offensive lineman. He's set to make his announcement on Thursday, August 8th. His name, again, Aaron Dunn, 6'7", 6'7.5", just a tick under 300 pounds, Spanish Fork, Utah, second best player out of the state. USC's in a really good spot for him. So again, if Dunn joins the class, now you're going to have 4 offensive linemen committed, 17 total commitments. That's a really good balance. It's not quite 25%. You're like, what, 24.7%, whatever the math is. 4 out of 16 would be quarter of the class. So you got Cardi Smith, 6'6", 300 pounds. If Aaron Dunn joins, you're now 6'7.5", 300 pounds. Those aren't project type of guys. Those aren't guys who are going to need, 3 years to develop before they're ready to play. And I do apologize about that. I've been really busy today. Anyways, and then your other 2 I mentioned, you have Elijah Vicona, all 6'8", 370 pounds. Willie Washer, he's 6'3", 300 pounds. He's your center of the future. So with Cardi in the fold, I mean, the other 2, Elijah Vicona and Willie Washer, the size. That's what USC, that's what really pops out right now. The size that they're recruiting. So does that, when you bring Cardi Smith into the class, does that help out? Does that mean Julian Lewis is more solid now with USC? One would think so, right? Here's my question. How well do they know each other? Do they know each other? Do they run in the same circles? One plays high school in Georgia, the other plays in Mobile, Alabama. What kind of relationship do they have? And before I close out this first segment about talking about recruiting, how much longer do you think? And we started to talk about it a little bit on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC. So when you're done watching this episode, go check it out. How much longer do we allow? Does Lincoln Riley allow Julian Lewis to take? I mean, is Julian waiting around to see what USC looks like in those first few games before he shuts it down? I suppose as long as he doesn't decommit, it's really not a big deal in the long term. But he's holding Coach Riley and the recruiting class hostage, kind of, sort of. Coach Riley, he hasn't offered another 2025 quarterback in the cycle, not yet. We've talked about it. I think I have a really good idea who he's getting on, who he has on speed dial if it comes to that. So you have Julian Lewis committed. That's the only quarterback he's offered for this class. And even though Ryder Lyons, Walker's younger brother, is going to be one of the top quarterback prospects in the class of 2026, whenever or wherever he decides to go, he's still a class of 2027. If you take into consideration, he'll probably be doing his missionary work first, just like his older brother Walker. So where are we with Julian? How long is he going to take before he officially shuts it down? He's getting the guys up front to protect him. You've got one elite level guy, Cardi Smith. We're anticipating Aaron Dunn being the second one. And again, Willie Washer, Elijah Vicona. Not bad, right? In the next segment, I'm going to start talking about some of the top position battles that's going to be taking place during fall camp. Stick around. I love sports, love them a lot. I really love USC football, and I really love USC basketball. I wish I could watch them 24/7, 365 days a year. I don't get that opportunity. But you know what FanDuel does for me? It lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do, open up the app, dream up bets, anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all their customers with a boost or a bonus, and they are doing that daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/locked-on and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Again, I want to say thank you for making Locked on USC your first listen every day. For your second listen, do yourself a favor. Go enjoy the Locked on College Football podcast. Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron with discussion on the upcoming season and the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, including conference realignment, the transfer portal, NIL, the new college football expanded playoffs, and a whole lot more. Locked on College Football is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Have you ever heard a coach anybody say, iron sharpens iron? Of course you have. If you play sports, your coach said this to you. Iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. It's actually a Bible verse. It comes from the book of Proverbs called the coaching book of cliches. Now that fall camp is open, there's going to be position battles. Everybody's jockeying for that spot on their depth chart, right? USC is going to have some really unique position battles going on during the fall. I wonder, though, is the quarterback position, is that one of the top battles? I think there's folks out there that would like to make it one. They're going to try and create it. I hope everyone agrees that despite Lincoln Riley claiming the starting back position is an open competition. And here, let's just make the comparison. When Lincoln Riley took over, Caleb Williams eventually showed up. Does anybody really think Miller Moss had a fair chance of winning that starting quarterback battle? Regardless of how well he performed, did he really have a chance going through those spring and fall camps in those first 2 years? No, We know we didn't, especially after Caleb won the Heisman year one. But everything worked itself out, right? Caleb, like I just mentioned, Caleb, he went on to win a Heisman. Miller eventually got his chance to start in the Holiday Bowl. And what did he do? He looked like Riley's next Heisman in waiting. This is what Coach Riley said after the Holiday Bowl. Moss, did a great job. Shoot, he may have scared off anybody that we wanted to come here anyway. He's obviously a tremendous leader for our program, was a great leader for us tonight. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for him because I think he's going to get better and better. Well, he has. So now let's forward a couple years. 2024. Here we are. Jaden Mayava. He's finding himself in a very similar situation that Miller found himself in. It's going to require patience. He has to know he's got I won't say a better quarterback, but a more experienced quarterback in the system who knows Lincoln Riley, what Lincoln Riley wants. This is what Jaden has to contend with right now. Similar to what Miller had to deal with the Caleb Williams factor. So even though, Jaden's coming to USC as a redshirt freshman, and he actually has more starting experience compared to Miller, who made his first start as a redshirt sophomore in the Holiday Bowl. But Miller took advantage of that opportunity when he was patient, he developed, and when the opportunity knocked, he walked right on through. Again, in the Holiday Bowl, it was 23 out of 33 passing, almost 70%, 372 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. He took home the MVP honors. Now, the other day after the first day of fall camp, this is what Coach Riley said. So yeah, it's not a decision that we had to make in the spring, so we didn't. I think I gave you guys, the media, a fair and honest update as to where it was then, but at the same time, we're gonna rep these guys. They're all gonna rep. Let's not forget Jake Jensen. He's still part of the competition as well. We're gonna rep these guys here until we feel separation right now, and not trying to factor in too much of what happened before. Close quote. So again, Coach Riley's saying he's not shutting down the quarterback competition early. He's saying that. You've got Miller Moss, you've got Jaden Mayava, fourth down specialist Jake Jensen. They're going to continue to battle. But again, let's be honest here. Unless Miller just falls on his face, I'm not sure there's a, finger quotes, real battle that's going to take place on who's starting September 1st against LSU. It's just not. So I'll keep you updated. We'll follow along in the competition. Look, maybe Jaden all of a sudden he takes over, and he looks so good that Lincoln Riley has to do what's best for the team. I think if that happens, though, if you start somebody over Miller in game one, there's a really good chance you're going to fracture that locker room. We'll get more into that as we get closer to the season. What about the wide receiver room? Is that good? What position battles were we looking at there? I like Kyron Hudson versus Kyle Ford. Kyle. So USC's wide receiver room, we know it's deep. We know it's talented. We know it's really young, and it's going to be led by those 4 sophomores: Deuce Robinson, Zachariah Branch, Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon, in no particular order. But look, those are the 4 guys. They're young. Everyone expects them to be the dudes this year. But what about that 5th wide receiver spot? I think it's going to be one of the more interesting battles to watch. Like I mentioned, I like the big wide receiver battle, Kyron versus Kyle. I kind of hinted a little bit when I gave you the practice report on yesterday's episode of Locked On USC. Go check it out. Kyle Ford's looking really good moving right now. Get the ball to him in stride. He's a load. He almost looks like a tight end playing wide receiver. Again, I would line him up in an H-back. Utilize him. Move him around. Kyron Hudson, yeah, Lincoln Riley might have a hard time keeping him off the field. He's playing with a lot of confidence right now. I told you about the reception he had in the end zone. One other wide receiver position battle to keep an eye on. I don't know if we want to call it the fifth guy, but I talked about Kyron and Kyle. Those are bigger wide receivers. What about the inside, the slot guys? Keep an eye on the Jay Fair versus Jaden Richardson competition. Like I said, deep room. Deep room. How about the offensive line? Here's where the competition is. It's for the backup spots. Those roles are not defined yet. I'm going to go on record that this will be USC's starting five. Again, unless Gino Quinones is able to move Emmanuel Prignon from left guard, or assuming Alani Noah from right guard, you're starting front five. Jonah Monheim left tackle, Emmanuel Prignon left guard. Elijah Page left tackle, Prignon left guard, Jonah Monheim at center, Alani Noah at right guard, Mason Murphy is your right tackle. Those are your projected starters. Gino can play any one of those three interior line spots, including center. So it's going to be interesting to see who locks up the backup spots. Who's going to be backing up Elijah Page? Who's backing up Prignon? Who's backing up Monheim? I think that's Killian O'Connor's job to lose. Who's backing up Alani Noah? Is that going to be Amos Talalele? Is Micah Banuelos going to be healthy enough for one of those guard spots? What about right tackle? Mason Murphy, Tobias Raymond, then what? After you get past those first 5, 6, 7 guys, it's your freshmen, your second-year players. That's the battle within the offensive line group. I don't think anybody's really going to move around those first 5. How about in the secondary? There's, by far, they are the deepest and best unit on USC's defense. Safety as well as cornerbacks. And here's what's so great about it. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of depth. They're big. They're tall. They're rangy. The competition is so good that if you have a bad game, and it's going to happen, somebody's going to be able to step in right into your spot. So you could be John Humphrey coming over from UCLA feeling really comfortable. That's one cornerback. You got Jacoby Covington. What about Prophet Brown? What about Jalen Smith, who, by the way, I got word today, no longer working at nickelback. He is strictly working with the corners. That's going to be a fun group to watch. Really fun group to watch. You've got 4 or 5 solid guys who could play cornerback right now. Easily. Safety, you got Achille Arnold. You got Kamari Ramsey. Deep. Depth. I'm not even talking about the guys USC recruited on their own. Christian Pierce, Malachi Crawford. Zion Branch at safety. Anthony Beavers. Where do you put this guy? He is not a free safety. Let's just get that out of the way. He is way too big to be playing center field. I need to see him in the box. He looks like a linebacker right now. I think he's going to be most comfortable if you have him in pass coverage doing those crossing patterns. Don't ask him to drop back and try and cover a guy 20, 30 yards downfield. That's not his game. Let's not do an Alex Grinch. Don't force him into a situation he's not going to be successful in. But we saw what he did in the Holiday Bowl. He needs to be on the field in some capacity. My point is this. If you're playing in the secondary, cornerback or safety, you don't have time to look over your shoulder to see who's chasing you. Because if you do, you're getting passed over. That's how deep the room is. So those are just some of the position battles going on this fall camp. I'm going to do some more. We'll have that coming up on another episode of Locked On USC. In the next segment, we're going to talk about where USC ranks preseason. Yeah, the coaches poll is out. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into that MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Yeah, it's out. The coaches poll, they let it out Monday. And the Trojans are going to open up as the 23rd ranked team in the country. All right, is that fair? Most of you probably think, yeah, it's fair. USC won 8 games last year. They look like Drek on the defensive side of the ball. They lost Caleb Williams. 23 is fair. I sort of agree. I'll tell you why I don't here in a minute. Overall, USC is one of 6 big conference teams in the top 25. The SEC led the way among Power 4 conference teams. They had 9 total. And all 9, somehow or another, found themselves inside the top 20. Go figure, right? So there you have it. 15 of the top 25 teams in the coaches poll come from 2 conferences. As a reminder, last year, USC opened the season as the number 16 in the 2023 preseason coaches poll. They finished the year receiving votes. If you did the counting all the way down the list, they were number 33 to end the season. Not too good. 27 spots different from being the number 16 in the country. So here is the top 25 from 1 through 25. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas at number 4, Alabama number 5. Georgia had 46 first place votes, Ohio State 7, Texas 1. 6 through 10, Ole Miss, Notre Dame at 7, Michigan, they got a first place vote at number 8, Penn State number 9, Florida State number 10. Interesting. The next 5, Missouri at 11, LSU 12, Utah 13, Clemson 14, Tennessee at 15, Oklahoma 16, Kansas State checks in at 17, Oklahoma State is at 18, Miami at 19, Texas A&M at 20, Arizona at 21, and North Carolina State 22, the aforementioned USC at 23, Kansas at 24, Iowa at number 25. USC is going to have the chance to shoot up those rankings really quickly this season, right? Number one, I'm not a big fan of the coaches poll. The first thing I did when this poll was released, I checked the fine print. I was looking at who was voting. You can go check it on your own. Kind of gives you an idea of why the SEC had 9 teams in the top 20. It's that bias. Anyways, USC, again, they're going to have a chance to move up. By the time they're done playing their 3rd game of the year, they will have already played number 12 LSU. We know that. And then, depending on where Michigan is, they start the season at number 8. We're going to see where Michigan is by the time USC gets there, because Michigan starts the season with Fresno and Texas. Not an easy schedule for the Wolverines coming off their championship season. USC is scheduled to face 3 teams who are actually starting in the top 10. Now, you've got Notre Dame, number 7. You got Penn State, number 9. They come to LA during the season. Oh, P.S. on the Notre Dame game, I know that's at the end of the year. The Irish lost their starting left tackle for the season. Still, though, I think they're going to be able to survive. And you look at Notre Dame's schedule, it is softer than an SEC out-of-conference schedule. That's how charming it is. And look, again, I know preseason polls mean very little, and especially the coaches poll. They don't watch the games, number one. And they vote with bias towards their own conference as well as their own schedule. They are going to make sure the teams that benefit them the most are going to get their votes. Oh, by the way, Lincoln Riley is not part of the coaches that vote. Just letting you know. But here's what I need to know. Why is Miami, Texas A&M, Arizona, North Carolina State, why are they considered better than USC? Miami? Really? Texas A&M? What have they shown? Arizona? They lost way too much, including their head coach, their coaching staff. I know they bring back the quarterback and T-Mac, but what else? Again, go look at the coaches who voted in these polls. It kind of gives you an idea of how these things come about. So is 23 okay for USC? Sure. I probably would have had them top 19, maybe top 20. It's not that much better, but perceptually, it is. That's where I'm coming from on this. And again, if USC beats LSU and they beat Michigan and they stay undefeated by the time Penn State shows up to the Coliseum, you're going to have potentially 2 top 5 teams battling it out that day. It's going to be the headliner game of the days for that weekend. All right, there it is. USC top number 23 in the coaches poll. That's the end of this episode of Locked On USC. I'll be back again tomorrow. Might have some recruiting news. We'll see what happens. I'll definitely have some more team news. I'll be back at practice on Wednesday. Media is not allowed in these last couple of days. So until that next episode of Locked On USC, everybody, thanks again. And you know what to do.